Welcome back to the IBFP. Here's your host, Boxing Nuke.
Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome the fuck back. It's that time, right about that time. The Canelo Alvarez and Triple G prediction. And I gotta keep it all the way real. I gotta keep it 100. I can't feed you any bullshit. And I know a lot of people are picking different guys for different reasons. And I gotta be completely honest, this fight is gonna end one or two ways, and it's gonna end very, very dramatic for either fighter. This fight will change careers. I don't want to give a biased opinion. I want to give a 100% honest opinion. And that's why I try to take out who I would prefer to win and who I wouldn't. On this particular fight, I don't have a preference. I don't have a favorite. I like both guys. I think both guys are very talented. I think they're both elite fighters. And I enjoy watching them both perform at their best and their peaks. I will say this, it is going to be a very interesting fight for a variety of reasons. I know the whole clenbuterol thing with Canelo Alvarez, and is his body adjusted to it? Look at the weight he's lost. Look at his body mass he's lost. He doesn't look like the same guy who was in the first fight. He's also had a long layoff. He's basically been laid off due to a suspension because of that tainted meat. And also in his camp, he stated that he's not eating any meat as well in this camp. So there's a lot of changes and adjustments that have been made for these fighters. I know a lot of people don't believe that Gennady Golovkin can make changes and adjustments, and they believe that Canelo Alvarez is a pure boxer. And so these are all things that we have to dive into before we can give you an actual honest assessment and prediction on this fight. And the first thing I'm going to break down is Canelo Alvarez's game plan, what he intends to do, what he brings to the fight, and how he can win and what his key is. Now, Canelo Alvarez, his key to victory in this particular fight is going to be staying on the back foot, using lateral movement, using head movement, and great skills and technique that he's improved on and showed over the years. Basically, having a knockout punch or power in this particular case is not going to be something that he's going to use to get this fight done. And to beat Gennady Golovkin, he's going to have to use lateral movement to do that. It's the only way that he can win this particular fight is by constantly using movement. Now, we understand that Canelo Alvarez doesn't have the best feet in the business, foot movement, but his hand speed, his hand movement, his head movement is elite, and it's very impressive. Canelo Alvarez is an impressive opponent. He hit Gennady Golovkin with a lot of clean shots, a lot of good shots, and if he keeps that same momentum, but for the full round, he could be very well successful by the end of this fight. On the flip side with Gennady Golovkin, when you see him in the mix, what he was doing, he was sitting behind his jab. I think the key to victory for Gennady Golovkin is to sit behind his jab, to walk Canelo down, and not only that, be extra aggressive. I know a lot of guys always say cut the ring off. He was trying to cut the ring off last time, but the way he's specifically going to need to cut the ring off this time is he's going to have to be completely aggressive and risk getting hurt at points in this fight. And I believe that Gennady Golovkin will do that, because at this point in the first fight, he was hit with everything Canelo Alvarez had, and none of it affected him in any kind of way. And since none of it affected Gennady Golovkin, basically look for him to be extra aggressive in this fight. He held back in the first fight because he didn't know what Canelo Alvarez had. He didn't know how strong he was going to hit him, and he absorbed and took all of those punches without any issues. Now, in this particular fight, Canelo's going to come into this fight a little bit leaner and meaner. I don't know if that's the whole clenbuterol issue, or if that's just a strategic game plan by his camp to come in much smaller and leaner to be able to last from the beginning to the end of every round. And there's going to be rounds early in this fight that Canelo Alvarez is going to pretty much dominate based off movement, speed, and constant attacking. But then there's going to be the other rounds that are going to be the worrisome and scary rounds, and those rounds are going to be the rounds where Gennady Golovkin are going to take over. And I believe the way this fight plays out, I'm just going to give you the prediction 100% honest and raw. I think the first 3 to 4 rounds, Canelo Alvarez is going to come out extremely energetic. Gennady Golovkin is going to come out energetic. he's going to be extremely aggressive, and Canelo Alvarez is going to use every bit of energy he has to stay competitive in those first 3 to 4 rounds. Gennady Golovkin is going to go to the body a lot. I believe he's going to be extra aggressive. And the key to victory for Gennady Golovkin is getting Canelo Alvarez trapped on the ropes at points. In this fight, if you trap Canelo Alvarez on the ropes, if he tries to go for a break later in the fight, which I believe he will, because even with conditioning, I believe you can't fix that in one particular fight, with one particular training camp. You need multiple to fix a conditioning issue. But let's say his conditioning is better. Let's say his conditioning is fantastic. Even in this particular scenario, Gennady Golovkin can wear him out to the body, which he didn't do last fight, and slow Canelo down and easily gas him. And then also, a lot of people don't realize this, taking off mass doesn't mean you're going to have better conditioning and stamina as well. You can also be weight drained to a certain degree, and it looks like, wow, what's going on, and you gas out after the 6th round. I do not expect Canelo Alvarez to have much stamina outside of the 6th round. I believe that he will lose a lot of steam. Gennady's going to go to the body and basically wear him down for the first 6 rounds. I think that I see a Gennady Golovkin stopping Canelo Alvarez by the 10th round. And I understand a lot of you guys may disagree with me, and I think that's fine. We can all disagree. Some people will, some people won't. But I just don't see how Canelo can improve much more than what he's already improved on. Canelo Alvarez has already pretty much boxed a pretty much perfect game plan, and Gennady Golovkin still won the majority of those rounds. If we're honest with ourselves, Gennady Golovkin won the majority of those rounds. Anybody saying that's a draw is not being honest with themselves or don't know boxing, because to see that fight and not see Gennady Golovkin win the majority of those rounds, I don't know what you were thinking. Most people that are picking Canelo Alvarez are picking him because they don't believe Gennady Golovkin can adjust, not because they believe that Canelo Alvarez is a much better fighter. They say, well, typically the more technical fighter beats the brawler in the second time around, and that's a true statement. That's 100% true and accurate. That's normally the case, but in this case it's a little bit different, and there's a few reasons why that's different. For one, Gennady Golovkin is not your typical brawler. Gennady Golovkin is also skillful with his attack. He's shown that in many different fights, even against Ivanis Martirosyan that he's fought recently. And I know people are not going to look at that as a big, huge fight, but he showed some boxing ability in that. When he fought another elite opponent in Danny Jacobs, that was a very close fight, and he showed not only aggressiveness, but boxing ability. He also uses his jab a lot, which is going to be a huge tool in defeating anyone. He's consistent with his jab, and Canelo's not. Canelo can't even establish a jab against Triple G. What makes me think he's going to be able to destroy Triple G by simply staying on the back foot the whole night? I just don't think he's going to be able to do enough the entire fight to beat Triple G. I think Triple G stops him late in the fight. Now I understand I could be more conservative and say, oh, Triple G wins a close competitive decision, but where's the fucking fun in that? If I'm going to be honest in how I feel and how I see this fight playing out, I think he gets a stoppage, but there is a chance that it could go to a decision. And if I'm a betting man, if I was going to put the fight on the line, I'll say Triple G decision, unanimous decision win, about 115, 113, something like that. I just don't think Canelo can do any more than what he's done. I think Triple G is going to rip the body. I think that is going to be his game plan from this point on out. And I also think that people don't believe that Gennady Golovkin can change and make adjustments. And I believe he absolutely can make changes and adjustments. I seen an interview from Richard Schaefer the other day, and basically he was stating that he went to Big Bear to watch Joe Joyce spar, one of Abel Sanchez's fighters. And basically he saw Gennady Golovkin in the gym, and he got to see Gennady Golovkin spar and put in work. And he said he's never seen that type of intensity in preparation from anyone other than Floyd Mayweather Jr. That was very telling because Richard Schaefer doesn't have a dog in this fight. He has no reason to pick Gennady Golovkin over Canelo Alvarez. He doesn't care. And his original pick was Canelo Alvarez. So you have to take that into consideration, that a man that's been around boxing this long, seeing training camps after training camps, seeing sparring after sparring, basically coming out and saying that is very telling. Another thing was telling was basically an interview that Abel Sanchez has done recently. Here's a direct quote from Abel Sanchez. I reviewed the tape of when Bernard Hopkins beat Oscar De La Hoya in 2004 and saw how Bernard stopped Oscar dead in his track with a picture-perfect liver shot. Another quote from Abel Sanchez is, don't be surprised if Gennady ends things using a punch that is a throwback to those days, a classic liver shot to puncture the Canelo myth once and for all. And fight fans, there you have it. My fight prediction: Gennady Golovkin beats Saul Canelo Alvarez. Please stay tuned to the IBFP and please subscribe.